Okay, so let's talk about the inside forward role and the roles and responsibilities and the importance of playing inside forward. So where I'm standing now is an inside left position. Inside right would be obviously on the other side. I'm about 5 yards or so over the halfway line, going in that direction. So the inside forward has a really important role to play. They connect defence and our traditional forwards, okay? It's a midfield role, it's a fluid midfield role. Inside forwards work generally in their channel, which is a channel that is to the side of the centre half and to the side of our left half or our left forward. Those are our positions where we're set, where we write them on a piece of paper. They're very much fluid. So the inside forward, particularly on a 16, their role is to start nice and high where they can, okay? If they condense the space, it's going to mean our defenders don't have the opportunity to outlet as effectively. So we want to set our positioning relatively high. So on a 16 yard, I would suggest that inside forwards set in and around the halfway line. That's going to give them space to go and offer for the ball. So on a 16 yard, you set your space high, and then you're looking initially to go and offer for the ball off either a fullback or a halfback. And connecting with those players is really, really important, because you are one of the integral players for which the defenders are looking to come through to get the ball higher up the pitch. One of the key objectives for a good inside forward to do is to make sure that we secure the ball. So when we offer towards the ball, whatever we're looking to try and do as an inside forward is to keep possession of the ball. I know that sounds really obvious, but inside forward roles are a relatively high pressured position. You're going to get the ball coming into you with players marking you tightly. So your fundamental role, in my opinion, is to keep possession of the ball. When you go to receive the ball from a fullback or a halfback, your positioning is really, really important. You're trying to create as much space as you can. So if you can create the space, then there's the opportunity to go forward. Your receiving position, often in inside forward roles, should be a nice strong position, and you're likely to receive the ball a lot of the time with your back towards the goal. So for example, as the ball comes in and we pick up the ball, we want to maintain a nice strong receiving position, okay? So what that might mean is, as you've accelerated towards the ball, or you've post up, or you've come to offer, you start to decelerate your footwork, and you're coming into a position when you can really secure the ball. And at that point, you can decide, or you've already decided what you're going to do. If you've got a player tight to you, what you might look to do is, if you receive the ball maybe from a half-back out on the side, you might look to change the point of attack by putting it to a full-back, and vice versa. So your initial responsibility is to secure the ball when you receive the ball with your back towards goal. So let's talk a little bit more about the post-up and the way that we offer towards the ball. Now there's going to be times where you're going to be coming from a long distance away, offering probably 10 or 15 yards from a higher position towards a player. What that's going to mean is when you come to receive the ball, you can decide if you want to, as we've talked about already, is slowing ourselves right down to make sure you can secure it with a nice wide base, and then look to offload. If you're feeling more confident, what you can look to do is continue your stride and your pickup on the move. And by doing that, it's going to make the transition from back to forward much more fluid, and it's also going to keep defenders guessing, because if you can pick up the ball on the move and you can look to be nice and fluid, they're not sure whether or not they're going to stay nice and tight to you, or are they going to stand off and give you some space. So a pickup on the move is going to look something like this. So when we're picking up the ball in our inside forward positions, it's really, really important before we pick up the ball to try and understand what our passing options are, okay? At the moment, we're talking about looking to keep the ball and retain the ball. If we've got a player tight to us and we're not confident about picking up the ball on the move, we can look at our split landing position. So when we pick up the ball, we're going to pick it up and we're going to have a nice wide base. Okay, that's going to stop your opposite inside forward or whoever it may be marking you from looking to shave, tackle and take the ball off you. If you pick up the ball inside forward, side on, that's going to invite the shave, tackle, and it's also going to stop you from keeping your options open. So where you can you try and pick up the ball in a position where you can roll to your right or you can roll off to your left. You must keep as many of your options open. And when you pick up the ball inside forward, and let's assume you've come to a relative standstill because you're in a position where you're just got to keep the ball, if you've got a player that's tight to you, what you need to try and do is you need to try and shrug that player off. You need to try and create that space for yourself. So as you've secured the ball in this position here, can we think about potentially a small movement in one direction to move the player, and then can we take it out of this little zone, take it out of this little pocket and look to offload. Sometimes if we go and pick up the ball and just roll into a position without any dummy movement, what we're going to do is we're going to walk straight onto a tackle, be it a forehand or onto a reverse. Okay? So if we're relatively still, when we pick up the ball, which is going to happen, we're going to look to potentially change by putting a dummy in, and once that dummy's been put in, we can look to create the space and go and identify our next passing option, okay, or look to carry out a danger. What we might try and do in these inside forward rolls is we might consider how we're going to try to connect with players just with our body positioning as we're talking about. So we also might use that as a way of disguising where we're going to go. So as we lead towards a player that's got a ball coming out of the back, is we might be looking to pick up the ball here and looking to go and connect out with the left hand side. But as the ball comes in here and our defender or our opposition player thinks we're coming into this position, is we look from here to then take the ball with our first touch to our left. That's a good way of doing it. And similarly, you can do that on the other side. So as you look to connect here, you then might look to let the ball roll across your body. So it's about using your body as much as anything to disguise your secondary movement as much as the skill when you pick up the ball. So things like this you might look to try and do. Okay, so what you'll find is if you're playing against a relatively well set up opposition team is me at inside left, okay, my opposite player is likely to be inside right, okay, from the opposition, and what they're going to be looking to do, depending on the sort of press or their setup, is they're going to look to try and congest that channel. Okay, so if I'm at inside left, going in that direction, we're trying to get out the back from there, from behind the camera, the inside right is going to be either marking me, sort of side marking me or marking from behind, or what they might look to try and do is zonal mark, where they stand inside this zone, which makes it really difficult for you to go and offer for the ball, which means that sometimes you're going to have to get much deeper and have to go and find the ball in a much deeper position. Okay, so don't be alarmed if your opposition are set up in that way, and expect that this channel, which is a threatening channel, to be congested. It's not going to be a nice clear bit of thin air or space, as we call it. It's going to be congested, and it's also going to be your centre half is going to be looking to be coming into those positions. Okay, you might also have your high forwards looking to post up into here, and if they're looking to post up into these positions, that's going to push you into a deeper position as well. So you've just at least got to start thinking about how you set up your starting position, which needs to be relatively high, as we talked about. And don't be alarmed if you're going to be marked tightly, because in the midfield positions, particularly in inside forward roles, you're going to be marked tightly. Okay, so in terms of creating some space for yourself, before you go and post up at the ball, what you might look to do is start your movement away from the ball. So we're looking to move away to take your opposition player with you, and then as you move away, you're going to bounce off your player and attack the ball, and that's going to give you potentially 4 or 5 extra yards, 2 yards, 10 yards, whatever it may be, to go and collect the ball. And as you pick up the ball, and just before that happens, any good inside forward or any good player is going to check their shoulder. So as the ball comes into them, we're going to check our shoulder. Why do we want to check our shoulder? Well, we want to see what that opposition player is doing. Are they super tight? Can I quickly look to roll that player with a bit of skill? Are they 10 yards away? So we can turn and we can look to threaten. What we don't want to do is have a player that's 10 yards off us and go backwards. We can look to go forward at any opportunity when we're playing. We must look to go forward. So it's really important before you pick up the ball to check your shoulder, okay? I think it's really important as an inside forward to understand about not finding contact when you're playing. It's something that I really try to instill in the players that I work with. Finding contact is something that you give a little bit more of a license to higher up the pitch and around the D. Okay, and finding contact is often a really bad habit of players. It's something that's perhaps come through from younger, you know, when they're playing in younger years, or they've been set bad examples, or they've just not had the coaching. So really try to instill avoiding contact, and that's really easy to say. And sometimes we put the onus and the responsibility on the ball carrier to not find contact, and what happens is a lack of movement in and around that player, and certainly a lack of movement ahead of them when they're playing, means that the ball carrier, and not just their inside forward, becomes swamped, or their options become really minimised, and they have to find contact and they get tackled, and we put the blame on that player. Well, actually there needs to be movement for inside forwards, or any player as you like, and there needs to be options for that player to pass to. If those options aren't there, and those easy passes aren't there, all those longer passes that aren't there, then that ball carrier their eyes are going to go down, and it's going to look like they're going to contact. Of course, the ball carrier has a responsibility to get their head up, find that space. So avoiding contact is really important. And some of the things that happen at inside forward when you get the ball taken off you are things like this. So for example, what happens is you pick up the ball with your back towards goal, pick it up, and you take a touch, and you simply roll without any deception or disguise, just very quickly, and what happens is you just roll straight onto contact, and that's both left and right. Okay, so you pick it and you roll straight onto contact. What you might look to do here to avoid that with the roll is to make sure that your first touch or your roll takes the ball backwards first in an arcing roll, and what that does is that takes you away from the player. Okay, and as you're rolling both left to your strong side, which is easier, or this way round to the right, is as you're doing that, you're starting to scan and take a picture of what's going on around you. And what you don't want to do is just pick up the ball, pick it up and just roll with your eyes down, because you're not threatening, and you must always threaten as you're going forward in whatever position you're playing in. So as you're picking and you're rolling, as you're doing that, you're getting your eyes up and you're taking a bit of a picture of what's going on around you. And for me, when I'm at inside forward or have played at inside forward, I'm thinking about what are my easy options if I'm going to find a bit of contact, or I'm getting into pressure rather, and what are my most threatening passes. Okay, so as I've picked up and I'm starting to roll, okay, maybe inside left here, I know that I've got perhaps my left half back here. That's going to be my easy option back out if I'm in trouble. As I'm rolling, I might have a left winger coming to support me, okay, in a threatening position, but not as threatening as our centre forward or our right winger that's come round. Those are going to be our most threatening passes, okay, or we might have inside right that's coming forward to support the play. So I'm starting to take a little bit of a mental picture of going, right, we've got a safe pass here, okay, now I've started to turn, I've got a nice attacking pass up here to maybe left winger that's made a lead wide, and as I get my hips round in this position here, I'm starting then to threaten the goal as much as I can. The most threatening part of the pitch and the most dangerous part of the pitch we want to get to is the goal, for obvious reasons. So we always must look to threaten that, and our hips and our eyes are always going to engage with that part of the goal, part of the pitch. And as we do that, we then start to look at our most threatening passes. Okay? If those passes are on, we're going to give those passes where we can. If we're not quite in the position to pass it, or there's a player cutting that pass off, and maybe it was on for a split second but then it closes off, you've then got to be able to make that snap decision as to, I'm going to change what I'm doing now. Don't force it necessarily, okay? Of course, as an inside forward and you're coming through here, there are opportunities to take more speculative passes, more of a gamble with certain passes. We get that. That's what we want. That's what we want players to be like. But you've got to be able to make those snap decisions, and it's all circumstantial as to, okay, my pass is on now. Okay, now it's closed off because the defender's made a good decision to mark tightly or whatever it may be, and I've got to change that decision. And when that decision changes, you've got to be in a good position, a nice ball carrying position, okay, to be able to make that decision to go somewhere else when you're playing. So as we look to go forward when we're playing, a really important skill to be able to have and to execute is a pass off the right foot. So our right foot passing skills are really, really important. When we pass traditionally, it's a left foot pass, that's fine. But it becomes obvious when you're passing, okay? And also as you pass off the left foot, come to a little bit of a standstill, you start to slow down. We're looking to pass off the right foot when we execute it. We can look to continue moving forward, and we can put the disguise and deception on the pass when we're looking to play quickly. So as we're coming through here and we've got a stick on ball and we're in a nice carrying position, we don't want to turn to our side and go, oh, there's our pass, plant and pass necessarily, because the opposition player is going to read that. So what we're looking to try and do is to be deceptive. And as we carry forward here, at no point in time do they really know when you're going to pass the ball. Okay, and you need to be able to manage the situation by being deceptive, disguise, and being creative. And that right foot pass offers the opportunity to connect with players that perhaps you wouldn't be able to when you make it really obvious when you pass off the left foot. When you pass off the right foot, our chest is going to be forward when we pass. It's not going to be as a harder pass, but it's a really quick way of passing. And I'll do a few more so you can see. So as we're carrying here, we're not going to turn to the side, our chest is going to be forward, our eyes are going to be up, and we're really going to sort of push our hands away from our body, and we're going to push through the ball in this sort of way. You might keep your stick perfectly on the ball. What I prefer to do is actually take my stick off the ball slightly so I can get a bit more power, okay? It might not be quite as quick, but I like to get the power. I might be looking to pass over 50 or 60 yards as opposed to a 10-yard pass, okay? So it looks something like this as we're carrying, we can pass the ball. Okay, and you might find there's a little bit of noise. You might find it's smoother. Passing off the right foot it allows us to continue in the attack and move forward as well. So a good inside forward is going to be able to keep possession of the ball, as we've talked about. If they're in a position where they're looking forward and their passing options are limited, or they haven't got much on in front of them, we don't have to necessarily go forward. So a good player in this position, a good inside forward, is able to use their body space, and they're able to keep the possession of the ball. So you might find that you've got a player putting pressure on you here, and rather than moving the ball in a lateral position, which is brilliant at times, you might get the ball taken off you. So what a good player is able to do is actually to bring the ball back into their own body space. And as they bring the ball back into their own body space, we're able to have a little look up and see what's going on. By bringing the ball back away from the player into your body space, it's going to take it away from contact, and that's fundamentally really, really important. And what I like to do is, as I move the ball, I'm keeping my eyes on it. As I've moved it now, I'm going to have a quick look up, and my stick's then going to get back onto the board to control it. And as I look up, I see my options. Then I might see that the opposition defender's coming across this way. I'm going to take the ball away from them. So it's really about getting your eyes up to assess the danger directly in front of you. So you've picked up the ball, you've got a player there, and you're recognising what they're doing. If they're a good defender or a good opposition player or a good opposition inside forward, we might just say to ourselves, you know what? I'm not going to get into a battle here. I'm going to offload the ball to right half in this situation. Or I'm going to take it back and I'm going to keep the ball. If they come diving in as I pull the ball away, so I've got the ball here and they come diving in, I'm going to eliminate the player, and I'm going to look to go forward. And we're going to eliminate the player confidently and assertively, and we're going to look to take that player out of the game. Once that player's out of the game, we look to try and connect with players, and everything that we're trying to do, particularly inside forward, is to connect. We're playing to connect. So we connect with players at the back, we connect with players in support, and of course we're looking to connect with players much higher up the pitch. And by threatening all the time, it puts that element of doubt into an opposition player's mind. If we're not going to pull the ball into our own body space, okay, because we want to be a bit more threatening, we're looking to think about how far our player can reach. So if we're looking at lateral movements, these sorts of skills here, they're not effective. What we want to be looking to do is actually move the ball much bigger movements or lateral movements over 4, 5 or 6 yards, and we're looking to take the ball out of the opposition player's reach simply, okay, if we're getting into a 1v1 battle. And as soon as we exit that opposition player's reach, okay, we're looking to then connect and either offload the ball or look to continue to identify the space that we're trying to play into, okay. What happens is less experienced players, whether they're old or young, is they'll get into a 1v1 battle. They may look to beat a player successfully, and then they come back in and they go and find contact again with that exact same player. And unless maybe we're higher up the pitch, we want to win a foul, okay, because they're diving in, we want to try and take the ball away from that contact zone, okay. So lesser players will go and find that contact again. As a good player, try and find clean space, and then eyes are up and you've got options in front of you.